One of the worst wildfires in the country's history has turned celebration into chaos. Just as families were preparing for the 77th Independence Day, flames exploded near the Jerusalem-Tel Aviv highway, forcing thousands to run for their lives. It all began on a Wednesday that was supposed to be just another regular hot day in Israel. The sun was shining really bright and the wind was blowing strong, the kind of weather that makes everything feel dry and warm. No one thought anything strange would happen. People were going to work, driving on the main highway between Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, and some were even getting ready to celebrate Israel's Independence Day. But what no one expected was that this heat and wind would turn into a nightmare. Around the afternoon, smoke started rising near the Jerusalem-Tel Aviv highway, one of the busiest roads in the country. At first, it looked like just a small fire in the trees by the road. People thought maybe it would be put out in a few minutes, but within no time, that small fire grew into something huge. The wind made the flames spread so fast that firefighters couldn't keep up. Trees caught fire one after another, and it was like the forest was suddenly alive with flames. It wasn't just a fire anymore. It was a full-blown wildfire, and it was heading straight toward homes and towns. Smoke began covering the sky. You couldn't even see the sun properly. The air started to smell like something was burning badly. Cars had to stop on the highway because visibility became poor, and police had to shut down the entire road. That road connects two of the biggest cities in Israel, so this was a really big deal. People living nearby were told to evacuate their homes immediately. Imagine just sitting at home and suddenly hearing sirens and being told to leave everything and run. That's what happened to thousands of people. Thousands of people packed up their bags as quickly as they could. Parents were grabbing their kids, some with tears in their eyes, trying to calm them down. You could see children crying, confused about what was going on, while their moms and dads rushed around the house stuffing clothes and documents into backpacks. Some families didn't even have time to take much. They just left with whatever they could carry. The streets were full of people trying to drive out of their towns. There was shouting, honking, people trying to help each other. But mostly, there was just chaos. Traffic came to a standstill. The main highway connecting Jerusalem to Tel Aviv was completely shut down. That road is super busy on a normal day, but now it was frozen. Cars weren't moving at all. Some people left their cars and just started walking, holding their kids' hands and running towards safer areas. Others were stuck in their vehicles, crying, panicking, trying to get through but going nowhere. It was like the whole country was holding its breath, watching the flames get closer and closer. In the middle of all this, even the news reporters had to run for safety. Channel 12, the most watched news channel in Israel, had to stop broadcasting live during the evening news. Their studio was only about 10 miles from Jerusalem, and the fire was creeping too close. You could actually see the moment when the anchors looked around nervously and then announced they had to leave. Cameras were shaking as people rushed to shut everything down and evacuate the building. It was a shocking sight because when even the news can't continue reporting, you know things are really serious. People were posting videos online, clips of massive walls of fire moving toward homes, entire hills glowing orange, and smoke turning the sky into a giant gray cloud. One video showed a mother covering her baby's face with a cloth while running to her car. Another showed a firefighter helping an old woman out of her house. These were real moments that showed just how quickly everything had gone wrong. Emergency shelters were opened for the evacuees. Schools, community centers, and some hotels turned into safe spaces for people who had lost their homes or had nowhere to go. Volunteers came with food, water, blankets, and toys for the kids. Still, there was fear in everyone's eyes, fear of losing everything to the fire. At the same time, some Independence Day events were still happening on TV. Israel's Independence Day is usually a time when the whole country comes together to celebrate. There are fireworks, music, barbecues, and people waving flags everywhere. It's a happy day that marks the creation of the State of Israel back in 1948. Families get together, the army puts on shows, and everyone feels proud and excited. But this year, things were very different, terribly different. Just as people were preparing for the 77th Independence Day celebrations, wildfires broke out and turned the whole mood upside down. Instead of seeing colorful fireworks in the sky, people saw thick, black smoke. Instead of hearing music and laughter, there were the sounds of fire trucks, ambulances, and people crying. One of the biggest events every year is the torch lighting ceremony, which is usually a live celebration aired on national TV. But this time, because of the fire and the danger it brought, they had to cancel the live event and show a pre-recorded version instead. That made it feel even more unreal, like everything was out of sync. People were sitting in their homes watching a ceremony that had already happened, while at the same time, others were out there trying to save their homes from burning down. The president of Israel, Isaac Herzog, gave a speech during the ceremony. But instead of just talking about the country's success, he spoke seriously about the climate crisis and how wildfires like these are a wake-up call. His words were strong, saying that Israel needs to face these challenges and not ignore what's happening to the environment. It wasn't the kind of speech you normally hear on Independence Day, but it fit the situation, because the whole country was hurting. The whole thing felt so surreal. On one side of the country, people were still trying to celebrate, maybe lighting up small fireworks or gathering in their yards. But on the other side, thousands were running from fire, sleeping in shelters, and wondering if they'd have a home to go back to. It was like two completely different Israels were living at the same time, one in celebration, the other in survival mode. Social media was filled with mixed emotions. Some people were angry that the government didn't cancel all events completely. Others felt guilty celebrating while watching videos of burning forests and evacuated families. Even some TV hosts and celebrities said they couldn't celebrate when the country was going through such a terrible event. A few posts showed families singing the national anthem with tears in their eyes, standing outside shelters, holding Israeli flags that were partly burned. While most people were running away from the fire, there were others running straight into it. These were the real heroes: firefighters, pilots, soldiers, and rescue teams who worked day and night to stop the flames. There were 163 ground crews battling the fire on the ground. That's a massive number. They were using hoses, digging fire lines, and trying to stop the fire from reaching neighborhoods. It wasn't easy. The wind was blowing hard, and the weather was super dry, which made the flames spread even faster. But still, these firefighters didn't give up. Many of them were on their feet for hours, covered in smoke and sweat, doing everything they could. Along with them, 12 firefighting aircraft were flying above the fires. These planes dropped something called fire retardant, which is a special liquid that slows down the fire. If you saw pictures, you might have noticed pink-colored liquid being dropped from the sky. That's the retardant. It might look strange, but it really helps. These pilots had to fly low over the burning forests, getting close to the smoke and heat. That's super dangerous, but they did it anyway. Even the military joined the battle. Soldiers brought big machines and equipment to help create fire breaks. These are areas where trees and plants are cleared out so the fire can't move past that point. Soldiers used bulldozers and other vehicles to dig and clear land all night. They worked in the dark, surrounded by flames, trying to stop the fire from getting worse. Some even used shovels to dig small trenches to guide the fire away from homes. The Israeli Air Force also helped. Their helicopters flew over burning areas and helped locate hot spots so ground crews could focus on them. It was like a huge team effort. Everyone had a job. Some were in the air, others on the ground, and all were doing their best to keep people safe. There were moments when things looked really bad. Flames were getting close to homes, and smoke was everywhere. But thanks to the quick actions of these brave men and women, many areas were saved just in time. A light rain also came on Thursday, which helped a little, but most of the credit goes to the rescue teams. Many of these heroes got hurt while working. 17 firefighters were injured, mostly from burns and breathing in too much smoke, but they still kept going. Some of them didn't even go home. They stayed on site, resting in short shifts, eating fast meals, and then going back to fight more fires. The fire wasn't just in one small area. It stretched across forests, hills, and neighborhoods, especially near places like Mesilat Zion, which is about 30 kilometers west of Jerusalem. People there were caught off guard. One minute everything was calm, and the next minute there were flames everywhere. A man who lived in the area said it felt like a wall of fire was chasing us. He said he had to grab his kids, their dog, and whatever he could carry and run. They didn't even have time to pack properly. Another woman, whose house was near the fire, said it looked like the sky was on fire. She said the smoke made it hard to breathe and that the air felt heavy and hot, even at night. You could hear the panic in her voice. She was crying while telling reporters that her garden, her family photos, and even her kids' school books were all gone in minutes. "I don't even know where to go now," she said. The town of Mesilat Zion was one of the worst hit. Pictures from there showed black, burnt trees, destroyed buildings, and empty roads covered in ash. A small garden shop was completely burned down. It used to be full of colorful flowers and green plants, but now it's just a pile of ashes. One man walked through it in shock, not even saying anything. He just stared at the mess like he couldn't believe it was real. Lots of people said the fire moved too fast. One witness explained that within 10 minutes, the flames jumped from one side of the hill to the other. He said the wind made everything worse. The flames were being pushed by strong gusts, and they didn't give anyone time to react. Fire trucks had trouble getting through traffic, and some neighborhoods didn't get help fast enough. Even the fire crews were overwhelmed. Some firefighters said they had never seen anything like this. One of them said, "It felt like we were fighting a dragon. Every time we put out one flame, 2 more popped up." Another said that if they didn't act fast, entire villages could have been wiped out. That's how serious it was. People are now wondering if this really was Israel's worst wildfire ever. Some experts are looking at satellite images to compare it with past fires. They're looking at how much land was burned and how many homes were lost. But even without official numbers, most people already believe it. Just listening to the stories and seeing the damage makes it clear this was not a normal wildfire. According to Magen David Adom, which is Israel's emergency medical service, they had to treat 23 people on the first day alone. Most of them had trouble breathing or got burned while trying to get out. It wasn't just older people either. Kids were crying, scared and confused. Parents were holding them tight, covering their faces, doing whatever they could to keep them safe. One little girl had a burn on her arm and kept asking if her dog made it out. The rescuers tried to calm her down while giving her oxygen from a small tank. The firefighters were also getting hurt. These brave people were out there for hours, trying to stop the fire from reaching more homes. Many of them didn't sleep, didn't eat, and didn't stop even when the smoke got too heavy. 17 firefighters were reported injured. Some had burns, and others had smoke in their lungs. One firefighter said he couldn't even see his hand in front of his face because the smoke was that thick. But he kept going because he knew people needed help. Hospitals in the area got busier as more people came in. Doctors and nurses rushed to treat smoke inhalation, burns, and panic attacks. Some people just needed to sit down and breathe clean air. Others were put on oxygen machines to help them breathe properly again. A nurse from one of the emergency clinics said, "We've seen wildfires before, but never like this. The fear in people's eyes was something I'll never forget." The roads were full of ambulances, fire trucks, and people trying to escape. It was chaos. Some cars got stuck because of the traffic, and people had to leave their vehicles and run on foot. An old man said he was trapped in his car for 20 minutes with the windows rolled up, but the smoke still got in. He was rescued just in time by a passing firefighter who saw him banging on the window. Even after the worst flames were put out, people were still coughing. The ash didn't disappear right away. It stayed in the air, covered the streets, and made it hard for anyone to feel safe again. Many people are now dealing with not just physical injuries, but also emotional scars. They're afraid to sleep, worried the fire will come back, or wondering what they'll do if it happens again. A lot of regular citizens, news reporters, and even experts started saying the same thing. This whole situation could have been avoided, or at least handled better. Many believe the government wasn't ready at all, even though the weather forecast clearly said there would be high winds and very hot, dry conditions. It's not like the fire was a surprise. Everyone knew this kind of weather makes wildfires more likely. Still, there weren't enough big firefighting planes ready, and it seemed like the emergency teams were caught off guard. One man who lived near the fire zone said, "We saw it coming." The weather was screaming fire danger, but it felt like no one was really paying attention until it was too late. Another woman said, "We had to run from our house and no one came to help. Where were the planes? Where were the fire trucks?" These are the kinds of things people are asking now. A lot of them feel let down by the system that was supposed to protect them. Even Yuval Aharoni, a local resident near the city of Modi'in, told reporters he was really upset. He said it felt like the country wasn't prepared, even though everyone knew the weather was going to be dangerous. He pointed out that the big planes that can carry huge amounts of water weren't sent out early enough. He wasn't the only one who felt this way. Social media was full of videos and angry posts asking why things were handled so slowly. And then there's the conspiracy talk. One of the most controversial comments came from Itamar Ben-Gvir, the national security minister. He's known for making strong and sometimes extreme statements, and during a press conference, he hinted that the fires might not have been natural at all. He suggested they could have been started on purpose. Basically, he thinks someone might have lit them. He didn't give proof or mention who he thought did it, but the idea quickly spread online. Some people started believing it right away. Rumors flew all over the internet. Some said it was enemies trying to ruin Israel's Independence Day. Others said it was political or even part of some secret plan. But here's the thing. There's no evidence. Not a single piece of proof has been shown to the public to say the fire was started by someone on purpose. Right now, it's just talk. Authorities are still looking into the cause, and investigators haven't said anything official yet. While firefighters, soldiers, and volunteers were doing everything they could to stop the flames, other countries didn't just sit back and watch. They stepped in. They saw how bad things had gotten and wanted to help. Countries like France, Italy, Romania, Spain, and Croatia promised to send firefighting aircraft to support Israel's battle against one of the worst wildfires in its history. It was a big deal. These planes aren't just normal planes. They're special firefighting aircraft that can drop huge loads of water or fire-retardant chemicals onto burning forests. They can reach places that ground crews can't, and they can cover more area in less time. So, when Israel's foreign ministry announced that these nations were joining the effort, many people felt a bit of relief. It was like the world was saying, "Hey, you're not alone in this. We've got your back." This kind of global support is really important, especially in disasters like wildfires, where every second counts. When a fire spreads, it doesn't wait for politics or paperwork, it just moves. So having extra planes and trained crews come in from other countries makes a huge difference. It helps local firefighters breathe for a moment, regroup, and keep fighting without getting completely overwhelmed. People in Israel really appreciated it. On social media, a lot of Israelis started posting thank you messages and flags of the countries that sent help. One person tweeted, "To our friends in France, Italy, Spain, Romania, and Croatia, thank you for standing with us in our darkest hour." Another said, "True friends are the ones who show up when your house is on fire." Literally. These small messages meant a lot. It wasn't just about the planes. It was about the feeling of not being alone. We'll keep bringing you the latest as this story unfolds. So if this touched you, please like, share, and subscribe for more real stories that matter. Real stories that